LiPos really are the way to go. There's no question about it, honestly. Hi, my name is Jordan Hoffman and I work at the Hobby Man in Narre Warren, and today I'm going to talk to you about different kinds of batteries, specifically LiPos, and how to charge, maintain, and some of the accessories you can get to make your life a little bit easier. So to begin with, we've got two batteries here. I've got a 2-cell and a 3-cell. That basically indicates, how many layers of lithium there are. So each cell adds an additional 3.7 volts to it. Pretty straightforward, honestly. The reason why people really love LiPos these days is because they tend to give you 2 good years of use, pretty solid use, and they give you lots of burst, which is great for all those brushless motors that everyone's putting in their cars these days. You wouldn't really use nickels a lot unless you've got young kids and you don't want them playing with your chargers and that kind of thing. LiPos really are the way to go. There's no question about it, honestly. Sometimes there's niche cases, but 90% of people, LiPo. Basically, these ones here are hard case. This is the RAN pack for Tamiya cars, and this is a semi-hard case for Traxxas cars. These will be perfect in things like hot shots and frogs, hornets, that kind of stuff. If you're just getting back into the hobby, the reason why you probably heard some things about this one being like a bit dangerous potentially is just because if you punch them or if you let them get really wet and stuff like that, I mean really wet, I mean drowning it in water, you can have fires and things like that. There are a few things you can do to mitigate that. However, they are very safe. 90% of the time, or 99% of the time, you will not have an issue. And if you follow a few simple rules, you won't have any issues at all. The big one is just, not puncturing it and not letting them, if they ever get really expandy, it feels like it's a pillow inside, you just want to dispose of them. And I mean, quite large, they start pushing the case apart. This is usually due to leaving the batteries fully charged. When it comes to charging, one of the most common ones we sell is just a little A3 Pro, especially for people who are just getting back into the hobby. Very simple. It's a one button press, especially, and for LiPos. I'll just use an extension here to make things a bit easier. Oopsies, wrong one. This one here. Cool. These batteries only plug in one way, and if it's a 2, 3, or 4, 6 cell, it'll indicate by the plugs here. Basically, the more leads, the more cells. To charge, just hold down the LiPo button, press it once, just get it to go green, hold down to start, it'll start flashing when it's done, when it's charging, and when it's done, it'll start go solid. Pretty straightforward. We often sell these for people running nickel hard drives and things like that as well. Comes with additional leads for that purpose. Or you can buy big chargers like this one here. I really like this one because it's 130 watts per port. If you're running 4s and 6 cells and you're consistently charging them, this is, in my opinion, one of the best ones to go for. It's got an inbuilt power supply as well, so you don't even need to purchase an additional power supply for it, which is really, really handy. Also, it's got little outputs here as well, which is really, really handy. Oh, and DC in if you want to run off your car or something like that. It also allows you to charge 2 at once, which is really, really handy, especially when you start running things like e-Revos or any car that runs 2 batteries. Infractions is another popular one, Maxes, X-Maxes, that kind of thing. You want to start punching out batteries with you and your friends. Perfect. With these sorts of chargers, you need to set the voltage and ampage of them. I recommend you use a just balanced charge each time you're charging, and then use 2S and just get the settings off the battery. So 2S, and then the ampage, it's 4.2. It's a 4.2 milliamp, 4200 milliamp battery. So therefore you just take 2 zeros off the end and then charge it at 4.2 amps. It's pretty straightforward. When you're charging them, we recommend that you get some LiPo bags. We always have some in stock, and it doesn't really matter which one you get, to be honest, except you just want to make sure the batteries fit. These are usually used for charging batteries when they're on the charger. So if it was my battery, I would plug it in like this. So that way you can be assured that your battery is safe inside here. And so that way if anything does happen, it's contained inside the LiPo bag and you can get it out the door. It does stink still, but at least nothing's going to happen to your house or your garage. You should never really leave these things unattended when you're charging. You don't have to like watch it, but you should be in the same room, you know, take the time to work on your car and just keep an eye on it, okay? Accessories. Okie dokie. So besides the LiPo safe bags, this is what they look like in the bag. You want to get yourself like a cell checker at some point. These are, especially when you get stuck at a few batteries, these are really handy when you're on the go. Because if you end up with like 3 or 4 batteries, like most people do, and you're using your cars consistently, and especially when you're with your friends and you're trying to work out which battery is good, this will tell you. So it has the balance pins on the side, and you can just plug it in. Here we go. There we go. And tell you the voltage and the percentage of where the battery is sitting at. It also allows you to balance, and it also has a servo tester as well. So you can put 6 volts in here and have your servo tester work, and you can test the servo independently of whatever you're working on. So if you want to make sure, if you think something's happening with the servo and it's interfering with the rest of the car, you can unplug it, test the servo, and then test the rest of the car separately, which is really, really handy. The only other thing you really need to know about LiPo batteries is to keep them in storage when you're not using them. So most of these chargers, especially like this sort of thing here, the D260 or the Tornado RC or Sky RC 680 Pros or the C80 C100s, those ones there will have a storage function. That will allow you to keep the battery at that 3.8 volts per cell, and basically keep them on the shelf and they won't puff and go bad. And then when you go to use them again, and they just will just take half an hour of charge, and then you can just bang, 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 get them out and start playing with the toys. That and not running them down all the way. That's the other key one. So if you've got your car, you run it, eventually it will go into limp mode. Most cars come with that already on, but double check that if it's an older car or if you're not sure. Usually most manufacturers will have like a little handy little guide in their instructions. Traxxas is very good for that. They actually have a sticker on the chassis all the time. You want to make sure that's turned on so you don't run your batteries down all the way. If they do, then you have to like, there is some ways you can get them up, but it's a bring it back to the hobby store or talk to someone who knows what they're doing, because you can start a fire if you do it incorrectly. If you don't put these on storage when you're done with them, if you leave them flat, they'll drop, and then you'll end up in a situation where they're below the voltage where the chargers will actually charge them. They have a safety function built in. So you don't want to do that ever. If you keep them in storage, then they'll be fine. Put it on storage on the charger, and then brings it up. It'll beep when it's done, and then you can put it on the shelf just fine afterwards. And you can keep using them. You should really get 2 years out of these packs before they need to be replaced for optimal performance for most use essentially. If you some of the racer guys that might do some really weird stuff to get the peak performance of it, and they'll lose a little bit of runtime, bit of lifetime on it. But your average guy who's just running a Traxxas Slash around or a Max or something like that, 2 years is really where you should be, before they start to sag a little bit and not provide the same burst ampage that you're sort of used to with them. When that happens, just use them for different, like crawls or something like that, or dispose of them as needed. Okay, thank you so much. Ciao.